Welcome to the Bamateur Hour. This is another episode. On this episode, we're going to review the Alabama win over BYU. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd, and we're ready to go. I'm Bama John. I'm joined by producer Scott and Will K for this episode. So let's jump into the Bama beatdown of BYU, which it really was. A couple of things. Let me just jump in here. Alabama won 113 to 88 in a blowout win by 25 points. Alabama led by 9 at half. They were up 50-41 at half and just extended the lead from there. BYU never really challenged in the second half as Bama just kept scoring and nailing threes. It was just an incredible performance by Alabama. It was one of those that they just played an A to A plus game and looked like a team that had the potential to make it to the Final Four. And it was just a great performance. One of the hallmarks of the game was Alabama hit 25 3-pointers in the game, making 25 of 51. So basically shooting 50% from three. Mark Sears led the way with 34 points on 10 of 16 shooting from beyond the arc. He had 8 assists and just had a great game. It was a great game. BYU they just looked flummoxed, weren't able to keep up with the onslaught by Alabama, didn't seem to have answers for how to slow down Alabama. Maybe they should have doubled on pick and rolls more and tried to come over the screens and made Alabama shoot more twos. But they just didn't seem to have the answer and find the answer in that game. A couple of things I wanted to note. Mark Sears had 34, which I mentioned previously. He had 10 threes, shooting 10 for 16 from threes. He had 8 assists, 3 steals. Aiden Holloway had 23 points and scored 6 threes. Chris Youngblood had 19 points and made 5 threes. Grant Nelson didn't score a lot in the game. And as his 3-point shooting hasn't been great this season, I think he's shooting a little bit less than 30% from the year from three, but he had 10 rebounds, had a solid game. BYU was led by Richie Saunders, who, point of note, is that his grandfather invented the tater tot, and they sure played that up before the game and during the game. Richie Saunders did have 25 points, and then Igor Demon had 15 points for BYU. He is projected as a top 15 pick in the draft, 6'9", slender, crafty, call him a point forward, but never really felt that he threatened Alabama, and BYU just as a whole shot poorly from the field. So those are just the quick highlights that I wanted to go over. Will K, thoughts about the game, points of interest, jump in here.
Set a record for the most 3-pointers in an NCAA game. I mean, I was watching that game and it was the most unreal thing I've ever seen. That's the best we've ever played all year. Still gave up 88, but scoring 113, hitting half of our 3-pointers while shooting 50 of them is incredible. I guess you don't really need defense when that happens. But yeah, that was the best that I've seen us play all year.
It was a resounding victory, and it was really the highlight of the Alabama season to put together that performance in the Sweet 16, go in there. A lot of people were picking BYU to upset Alabama, and I'm like, okay, really? That's what you think? We smoked them. We played an A game. They probably played a C game. I still think if we played them 10 times, we beat them 7 to 9 out of 10 times. Maybe they get us once. If we had to go into BYU and play in Provo, maybe they would get us in there. But I just felt like we were a better, more athletic team. It was a lot like St. Mary's, except for BYU wanted to try to play at the pace Alabama plays at, and they played right into our hands. They wanted to go up and shoot quick. Funny thing to note is BYU shot 72 shots, and we only shot 66 shots. So they shot 8 more shots than we did, and they shot a miserable 6 for 30, 20% from the 3-point line. So it was just a clang fest. They could not hit threes, and that was really the difference. It was just how many threes we hit. We hit 25, they hit 6. We won by 24. Blowout. It was super impressive performance. Reminded me a lot of when Alabama blew out Kentucky in the SEC tournament, and also reminded me of when we went into Austin and we beat up on Austin. We beat up on Texas in Austin in a big road game in the SEC. Just, we're clicking on all cylinders. Unfortunately, the end of this story in the tournament is Alabama all season long, when they'd put up what I'd call their A to A plus effort in a game, they didn't seem to have the ability to come back in the next game and put up another A minus or better performance. But we'll talk about that on another podcast. All right, producer Scott, what you got for us?
Well, you took away some of my stuff because you just kept yapping. Next time I'll have to step in.
All right,
But
Scott, I want you to take it from here.
I'll take it from here. Yeah, I'm going to have to regulate. Um, I'm not as down. I mean, of course, an astounding. I agree with Will. That's the best tied game of the year. And when you dump in 25 threes, what do you think's going to happen? A 25 3-point game sends Duke home, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So I'm not down on BYU. In fact, I think they look good. I'd like them to join the league. I found them to be very athletic, multi-tool players. They made and I'm giving them praise because Alabama played like something out of heaven. I mean, there's hardly anything bad to say about the Tide in this one, but I saw a BYU team that, I mean, they took a 9-0 run in the first half. And of course, they got punched in the mouth by 10 fists after that. But then in the second half, they had an 8-0 run. They prevented themselves from losing by 50. I think if they squared up, I think Bama beats them 7 out of 10. But I bet the average margin of victory is 12 if they played. BYU was 6 of 30, sure, 20% from 3, but they're normally 37%. That's a big dip, and it's, compared to just what they're capable of. It seems like, and of course they made some of that up at the free throw line. They were 80%, and for the season they were only around 69%, and then their field goal percentage overall was actually just slightly lower than their season average, which was 48.7, and then their overall average in this game was 45.8. So there's not much to say other than the threes just blew open the Red Sea. No one could have withstood that. So I was actually very impressed by BYU, and I see that Dallin Hall of their squad is in the transfer portal. Let's go get him.
I think Bama's in the running for him.
Good.
The other thing is, if you think about this, BYU shot 6 for 30 from 3. So from 2, because they were 33 of 72 overall, they were hitting over 50% of their 2-point shots. They were scoring in the interior. They just couldn't hit shots. And I do think Alabama played pretty good defense. They were not giving them easy looks from 3. They missed some open shots, but I also think Alabama played good defense. And you said what to criticize. I would say the biggest thing I would criticize, and by the way, Alabama did out rebound BYU 35 to 33. BYU made 16 free throws. Alabama made 18 free throws, and uncharacteristically, Alabama shot 85.7% from the free throw line. They're normally shooting 70 or less, so they made 18 of 21. So really, only on the 2-point shots was BYU better shooting from the field than Alabama's. Alabama was just raining threes in like crazy. And then the turnovers, Alabama had 2 more turnovers than BYU, so we got a lot of turnovers from them, but we gave the ball away a little bit too much. But in the hectic pace that Alabama wants to play and that BYU was willing to play as well, we beat them at their own game. We are better at that run and gun, get the ball up the court, try to shoot within 10 seconds of the shot clock. We're better than that than BYU is, at least this iteration of the Alabama team. Of course, next year, who knows what the Alabama team will be. But just a couple of points I wanted to make there. Will K, other thoughts?
I mean, I think y'all have said it all. The 3-pointers is really big, just, you're going to have to do that if you're going to give up 88 points. Nobody likes to talk about that. That's a lot of points to
88
give up.
miles an hour. 88 miles an hour for
Yeah,
those of you who remember Back to the Future.
but yeah.
Man, that just took the air out of us, John.
I just smoked him.
I'm just
Well,
thinking about that hair, the professor's hair. Marty. Biff. I mean, it's yeah, we're like desperate for things to say. It's so obvious. I mean, Alabama, yeah, they, like John said, the 85.7% from the line. And didn't Alabama have to only hit 10 twos? Is that, I think I'm seeing that correctly.
Yeah, if Alabama didn't score any 2-pointers, they still would have won.
And I have a note here
Wow.
that BYU outscored Alabama 50-16 in the paint. 50-16, and we won by 24.
But did you see how good BYU looked in the paint? They're considerably better than Alabama in the paint. I mean, that may be a reach, but I saw what was it, Charles Shackelford? I'm amphibious.
Amphibious. I use my left hand. I use my right hand. I'm amphibious. That's
and
correct.
Sadly, I was in college with him at that time, so that says a lot. Anyway, yeah, they looked. If you go back and critically look at, just forget what goes in and just watch them play. BYU's good. I mean, they're a good squad. I'd take them against Missouri. I'd like to see that 10-game series, or Kentucky. Yeah, the threes that's ridiculous. So that's all I got. I wanted to talk a lot, but I'm done.
Well, I do think you made a point about BYU's skill in the paint to be able to score in the low post, and that's really been an Achilles heel of Alabama all year. Other than dunks and just kind of easy putbacks, our big men this year really were not skilled. I watched Texas Tech pretty intently against Florida, and I watched some of the game against. Arkansas, when Arkansas blew that game when they should have beaten Texas Tech. Texas Tech's post players, they had all sorts of good post moves. And Alabama's post players, you get the ball in the post and it's a lot of clangs, a lot of either shots getting rejected or, going off the side of the rim, the backboard. They just don't seem to have those post moves. Call them Akeem Olajuwon, Tyler Hansbrough, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that ability within 6 feet to get a shot up, not get it blocked, and figure out how to either bank it in or get a nice little soft swish in. And that was a weakness that really got exposed this year in multiple games against really high level teams. We're able to get away with it against the teams other than, say, Auburn, Florida. Purdue exposed us when we lost to Purdue in a very tight game. And certainly when we talk about the Duke game, our inability to score in the post when we had opportunities really was a weakness. And to your point, BYU was good at scoring in the post, but we just killed them on threes. And it was fun to watch. It was really fun to watch them just rain down the threes, three after three, and just go in. And Mark Sears had some deep threes. Some of those where he's at 35 feet. Also Holloway and Chris Youngblood as well. They have deep range. If they get open, not contested, but when those guys get open, they really can shoot it from Steph Curry-esque range and make it. And that was fun to watch them do that. So that's my thing I want to chime in. Okay, Will K, parting shots.
I mean, I really don't have much else to say besides that. I mean, the story of the game was the 3-pointers. See if they can take that into whoever they play, Duke or Arizona.
Well, we know that they ultimately played Duke, and we will cover that on the next episode. There's no suspense there, but yeah, great Great win for Alabama. A lot of fun. You got to give it at least a grade of an A. I loved it. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it. All right, producer Scott, parting shots, final thoughts.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't say is I did notice that, and I don't know if it was just something in the pregame meal. I mean, obviously, I don't know what they shot up in the locker room to hit 25 threes, but all 10 twos looked beautiful. I don't know if you guys remember that. They were the shots we wanted them to take all year. And that kind of stood out to me. I don't know if that was just because they only had to hit 10 shots, but they were nice looking shots, dunks, floaters. The only weird one I think was what's his name? Nelson got it goaltended, but even the shot looked nice. I don't know if y'all remember that
Oh
one. I
yeah,
mean, it counted.
yes.
So I just it was like joystick city, man. It's almost like they had a crew on the sideline just playing them like a PlayStation game. It was nuts.
Well, I will jump in and make one other point. LeBaron Philon, who is projected to be a top 20 draft pick, which just kind of boggles my mind that they're projecting that. And the reason I say that is he does not game in and game out give you a consistent performance. Yeah, he can put up 25 in a game, but he can also put up 5 in a game. In this game, he had 6 assists and 8 points, and you just didn't really it wasn't like he did anything poorly, but you just didn't feel the presence of him making a big impact in the game. So when I think about Philon, I think he would be better served instead of being JD Davison and going to the NBA in the draft and getting drafted and then sitting on the bench or ending up in the G League and maybe in 4 or 5 years starts to make an impact. He would be well served to come back to college for another year, get another year of hard coaching, show that he can dominate game in and game out at the college level, and then go pro. I just don't think he's ready to make an impact at the pros, but based on potential, based on draft stock, I'm betting that he is going to go pro. And I know he's going to explore his draft options, but Philon, you just don't know what to expect from him game in and game out. And that's kind of the story of the season is Sears was our most consistent player the season to date. But again, he could have some clunkers. Nelson, to me, was our most important player when he was healthy, just because he does all sorts of things on the court. But again, he could have 6 points or he could have 25. And I think that was one of the things about this team is they have a lot of players that could put 15 points on the board in a given game. But I think night in and night out, you just didn't know who was going to show up and give you a stellar performance and who was going to show up and give you a clunker of a performance. And, that led to some head scratching losses. And it, because of that, Alabama was not able to achieve to its highest level this season, although the season has been very good in reaching the Elite Eight and beating BYU and getting to the Elite Eight against Duke. I mean, anybody would take that. I wish Carolina had done that. I wish Vanderbilt had done that. My two other teams I root for. So Nate Oates is a great coach. I think there's a few things that I have concerns about in terms of just being the elite of the elite, but he's certainly arguably one of the 10 best coaches in college basketball, if not one of the 5. I don't know what you guys think about Nate Oates as a coach, but I have super high regard for him, and I don't think Alabama would really struggle if he left and went to another program or went to the pros to find a better coach. Thoughts on Nate Oates?
Yeah, he he's declined a lot of places. I don't think he wants to leave. He declined the Kentucky job,
He did.
and that's a pretty highly touted job. Um, I mean, that's like almost declining the Alabama job in football, you know. So if he's not going to take that job, I don't think he's going to leave. So
Well,
I
I was
think we're
sort of
fine. But
hoping.
you are right.
I was hoping Carolina would fire their coach and try to hire Nate Oates because I think Nate Oates is a better coach than Hubert Davis. I really like Hubert Davis as a person. I think Nate Oates is a better coach. So,
Yeah.
okay, sorry, Will K. What else?
Um, Yeah, I just don't think that he's going to leave. I think he's pretty locked in. I mean, one day, never mind. I was going to say something, but that's for the next podcast, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, the rules have all been shattered on this one, but thank you for bringing back decorum.
Yeah.
Producer Scott, parting shots.
Yeah, I mean he's awesome. I even give him grace for some of the lack of creative 2-point shooting. Just the big man clang fest. He has got to get a camp going or something. I mean, it's like that just doesn't align with the quality and the culture of the team. That they can't finish at the 10 consistently without dunking. So that's my only gripe is he better. I mean, I've never even heard him bring it up. So I'm hoping he implements some kind of big man camp, and if he does, they'll be on Florida's level.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the production out of the bigs in terms of having great, reliable post moves are just not there, and
Even
that's a
BYU's
weakness.
guys did. I mean,
Yeah,
the guys shot the jump hook like forward. It's like a dragon head or something. Like, how did you even do that? And it just swished. It didn't even graze the rim with a guy in his face, and people were amphibious. Move. They just look good. I really paid attention to their inside moves, and yeah, we're Alabama's just going to have to raise it a little bit around the rim.
I'm in agreement with that. Okay, Will K, any other thoughts?
I don't think so. I think I got everything.
All right, gentlemen, that'll wrap it up. This is the Bamateur Hour. We'll talk to you again soon. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
The highest of tides.
High tide. This was the high tide.
And just as you all should hear, when I worked for a landscaping company in college, our slogan was, "If the grass is high, so are we." Thank you. Good night.